this computer. Okay, so today in writing, we're going to talk a little bit about what we talked about yesterday, which is how to continue planning your story. Yesterday, we talked about how we're picking a story idea that we're going to stick with for about 3 weeks. And we're going to really work on crafting the story and making it the best writing we've ever done. So the first thing is picking us a story idea that you think you have a lot to say again. Okay. I see that some people are having trouble with the visual. That's strange. Huh. I don't know. So you can't see us, Dad? Can you hear or talk to us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I've got the video
But you
where
can't
it says start video, and
Mhm.
I'm looking at a blank screen.
So we're going to continue with this. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So yesterday we talked about making a story mountain so that we make sure our story isn't just a boring flat story that just keeps going, and that we need to include a lot of things in that story mountain. So I'm going to spotlight my screen for a minute and just share my story mountain with you. And I'm going to model what I want you to do. So I'm hoping you brought your story mountains of the story you're writing. My story is about a time when I got mad at my brother. It wasn't a real big deal, but it had kind of an exciting ending. So first thing I'm going to ask myself is, what is the most exciting part of that story? And actually, it's not always easy to find that, or the most interesting part. It was a story about me getting mad at him for changing the channel on the TV back when there were only a few channels. And I wanted to watch the Brady Bunch, and he wanted to watch car racing. And he was bigger than me, so he changed the channel, and I got really mad, and I had a Hostess fruit pie, they're very gooey, in my hand, and I threw it at him. I missed him, but it hit the TV, but he chased me. He was going to try and hit me, and I got into the bathroom in time and locked the door. So when I first thought about that story, I thought, well, the most exciting part was when he hit the door with his body. But then I thought about it, and I thought, that wasn't the time that I was thinking the most about the story. The part of that story that really grabbed me was when I was trying to decide whether or not to throw that pie at my big brother, knowing I was going to get in trouble, right? So the first thing I wrote on my chart was the heart, and the heart was when I threw the pie and lost control. Now I'm going to say what happened just before that. And the reason I start at the top of the story is we often start stories in the morning with, I woke up, it was a beautiful day. I don't want anybody's story to start with I woke up, okay? That's a bed-to-bed story. Your story should start just a little bit before it gets exciting. So I want to start by putting on my story map the most exciting part. And you can be working on yours right now too, if you have it in front of you. And that was the part where I was really deciding whether or not to throw that pie at my brother. And then I want to say, well, what happened just before then? You'll see I closed my eyes to remember. I was sitting in the living room and he changed the channel. So I kind of worked my way backwards to him changing the channel, and that made me mad. And just before that, I was in the living room alone and he wasn't there, and I was happy and I was watching my show and I had this fruit pie and it was delicious and life was good. So that's the beginning of my story. And then he comes in the room. That's the first thing that happens in the outside story, changes the channel. Then I sit there getting madder and madder as I look at him. Then I finally throw the pie at him. Then I run away. That's how brave I am. Then I lock myself in the bathroom. Then he hits the bathroom door, and he actually broke the door off of its hinges. And then the story was kind of over, because I knew at that point he wasn't going to hit me anymore. He was in huge trouble over the door, and he was going to try and fix the door. So I knew he was in trouble. I knew I had kind of won. That's my outside story. Then remember I said you go back in your story and you need to fill in the inside story. So you need to say, well, at the very beginning when I was watching TV, how was I feeling? Well, I was feeling really happy. Then my brother came in the room and I was irritated. Then he changed the channel and I was mad. Do you see how the tension's rising? The story's getting more exciting. Then I sat there and I thought about it, and I just got madder and madder, thinking about all the times my big bully older brother had bossed me around and controlled things and gotten his way just because he was bigger. And I was just getting really angry in my head. Have you ever done that? And then I lost control and flung that pie at him. And then I was running away and I was afraid. That's what I was feeling, was fear. And then I got in the bathroom and I closed the door and locked it, and I felt, relief. So I wrote down relief. And then he hit the door. And he's a big kid. He hit the door. It was really loud and it cracked off its hinges. And I had to jump out of the way. I was scared and panicked. And then I realized that he was in so much trouble for breaking the bathroom door that I was relieved, and I felt really powerful because I knew now I was not in trouble anymore. He was the one in trouble. And then at the end of the story, when he did get in trouble and I realized that I'd gotten him in trouble again, I felt kind of sad. So this is my story mountain. What I'm going to ask you to do today is to take your story mountains that you have, go into breakout rooms with one other person, or if the other person won't talk, you can talk to yourself in the breakout room like a crazy person. It's okay. We all do it. I do it all the time. And I want you to tell the story. I want you to practice the story out loud. It's called Writing in the Air, and you're just going to practice telling the story as if you were writing it. So if it were me right now, I would start with, it was a hot summer day and I was sitting on the sticky leather couch. I looked at my delicious Hostess fruit pie and the dark purple berry filling was oozing out of it. Hooray, I thought, a day all to myself. Just then, I heard my brother come in the room. Turning my head, I saw my yucky older brother come storming in the room and run to the television and change the channel. What? I yelled. I was watching that. Do you see how I'm telling the story like I'm writing it, but I'm not really writing it? So this is going to be your job, and you're going to go all the way through your story. It doesn't have to be perfect, but every time you practice your story, it actually gets better. Remember how we talked about real writers write their stories over and over again? So whether you're watching this as a video or whether you're here with us right now, your job right now is to finish that story mountain, make sure you've got all the things that happened on the outside of the story mountain, all your feelings on the inside story of the story mountain, and then practice telling the story out loud. Write it in the air. You don't have to write anything on paper. We're going to do this for about, I think it's going to take you guys about 5 minutes each to tell it. So maybe I'll give you 10 minutes in breakout rooms. If a lot of you come back to the main room saying you're done, I'll have you just sit and add things to your story map. Like you can add the setting, you can add some details like my fruit pie detail and what it looked like, and 5 sense details like smells, sounds, tastes, feel, things like that. Okay, but about 10 minutes of writing time. After 10 minutes of writing time, we are going to do our engineering activity. Okay, I'm going to stop the video for